But I want to talk a little bit about our free tax programs and how they're helping people across the state maximize their refund by helping people file their taxes for free. We want to keep making tax credits like the California Earned Income Tax Credit larger and more accessible to more people. Here to help us kick things off is Assemblymember Santiago and our own Public Policy Director, Anna Hasselblad. Thank you so much for joining us today. Assemblymember Santiago, so much has changed in our world since March of 2020. We were lucky to have stimulus payments and additional child tax credits to keep us afloat for a while, but now many of those things are gone. Can you tell us what you are seeing in communities across California, especially in your district in Los Angeles?
Sure, absolutely. I hope you could hear me. Having a little bit of a technical difficulty seeing my face because it won't undo me. But here's the bottom line. Here's what we've seen in our neighborhoods. Here's the challenges that we've seen where people have suffered tremendously, not just because of the pandemic, but generally speaking, people have had a really hard time at work, making ends meet. Inflation is increasing. Rents have been extraordinarily pricing people out. And then today we now face a worsening of inflation that we've never seen. We see eggs gone from $4 to about $10. So more than ever, we now need to make good use of the programs that are available to us through the state of California, particularly CalEITC and all the wonderful programs that could be that folks can enroll in while they're applying. So CalEITC could be and is a lifesaver to many of families, but we're seeing, quite frankly, devastation across California because not only like we said, a pandemic, not only an economic downturn, but we're also seeing now through wildfires, floods, a number of people who are not able to work. More than ever, I would encourage all to promote CalEITC. I know that wasn't a question, but it is critically important that we promote this program and all that we can do to save lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anna, in our real cost measure report, we found that 1 in 3 families in the state of California are living below the real cost measure. 97% of them have at least one working adult. Can you tell us exactly what this means?
Yeah, happy to. So what this means is that just because you have job security doesn't mean that you have economic security. It's a reflection of wages not keeping up with the cost of living. The real cost measure also tells us via neighborhood level demographic information that the 2 biggest expenses for families are housing and childcare. And Assemblymember Santiago was really speaking to this because there's also other expenses that are going up right now. In some places, childcare actually costs more than housing. So that's a really big expense for a lot of families that not everyone thinks about unless you are dealing with it. And a lot of families are dealing with it. So even when employed, and the majority of single mothers, for example, 71 of households headed by an employed single mother lives below the real cost measure. So we're really seeing some truly hard times for families. And what this ultimately means is that there are households in every county in California that are in need of cash supports like the CalEITC and the Young Child Tax Credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that childcare piece. I have a 7-month-old at home and we joke, but we're paying a second mortgage to send him to childcare. It's really, really hard. So we know that, just because you're working and even if you've got a great job, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're able to meet those basic needs. This is why tax credits like the California Earned Income Tax Credit are so important. Assemblymember Santiago, can you tell us more about the role that tax credits have in helping alleviate poverty? And how do tax credits help entire communities, not just individuals?
Sure. Let me start out by saying that we should increase them and we should always fight. And I congratulate the coalition for being an advocate of increasing what people get in terms of tax credit. But what they mean for our communities is the difference between being able to feed children or not feed children. I keep going back to children because I think it's essential that we put a face on what a tax credit does and what a lack of a tax credit does as well. Mm-hmm. It's the ability to feed a child, the ability to put a few extra dollars into people's pockets. It's the ability to get out of debt. It's the ability to have that money that is much necessary to keep a roof over their head. I'm going to keep going back to this over and over and over, that it's the difference between having a roof over your head, making sure that a child is fed, and making sure that families don't fall into deep poverty and debt over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we say everybody, we really mean everybody. And for a really long time, there was groups of people that were left out. And Assemblymember Santiago, you had a big hand and you fighting to make these tax credits accessible to everybody, including people with ITIN numbers. Can you tell us why that was so important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see it now more today than ever. Because we all know that if you're undocumented, and that's what an ITIN number would do, it would allow folks who are undocumented, not citizens, to be able to go through to file taxes. We already know that undocumented immigrants generate a little over $3.7 billion worth of economic activity in the state of California. And for those who are working and receiving a paycheck, that the companies are producing, and I use rounded numbers, a little bit under $500 million that they're paying into taxes already. So it's incredibly, and they, not to mention that they pay, into unemployment benefits and others. But it's important to understand that the larger number I talked about, the close to $4 billion, is in sales taxes, state taxes, et cetera. So we're talking about hardworking people that are investing in a system that aren't receiving any benefits, unemployment, or many of the other benefits that are available to everybody else. So the importance of having an ITIN number is the ability to apply for a lot of the credits and the programs that are available through the CalEITC and otherwise, like the stimulus payment that was done last year. And in some cases, the ITIN number qualifies you for a number of other programs that have been included when you file taxes. So we always say it's incredibly important. I know there was money in the budget, but it's incredibly important that we equally promote people who are eligible for an ITIN number to get that ITIN number, because then they qualify for all the other programs that exist in the state of California that help alleviate poverty, such as the CalEITC. So when we're promoting the CalEITC, I think it's also very important to promote folks getting the ITIN number. And many people don't know about it. So please help us promote that.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into, what we're talking about with the young child tax credit. We're talking about making tax credits more accessible. We're making them larger. Anna, can you tell us real quickly about this bill to help make the young child tax credit accessible to more families?
Yeah, absolutely. We're so thrilled to be working with Assemblymember Santiago again on a push to expand the young child tax credit. And really, he's talking about what it means for children and families. That's the heart of the matter. And the current young child tax credit, or what we refer to as the YCTC sometimes, still excludes many vulnerable children and families. So expanding the YCTC to all CalEITC eligible families will ensure inclusion and mitigate some of those inequities in the from the federal child tax credit expiring. So we're really seeing a drop in household incomes because of that federal child tax credit dropping back down. And so what we're saying in California is we're gonna try to step up to the plate and really, put our arms around those families and ensure that they've got the cash supports that they need. So specifically, we're saying let's expand the young child tax credit to also include children ages 6 to 17, children 18 to 24 who are students, as well as children of any age with permanent and total disabilities. So we're really expanding it. We're saying everybody that's eligible for the CalEITC, if you've got child dependents, guess what? You're going to be eligible for that child tax credit. I think that's really huge. In total, this means nearly 62% of families who qualify for the CalEITC are not eligible for that child tax credit. So it kind of creates this unintended cliff effect for families who lose that YCTC when they no longer have children that are 0 to 5 years old. So we want to get rid of that cliff. We want to make sure families with children have the kind of support that they need to help with education, put food on the table, help with childcare costs.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I know we're getting near the end of this segment. Assemblymember Santiago, is there anything that you want to add around this young child tax credit bill?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to understand how much it's needed. And I think, Anna, you did a phenomenal job. And Mandy, by the way, big round of applause for you for monitoring this. I appreciate that. Doing a wonderful job. Look, I think we can't take no for an answer. Let me just start off there. And kind of an unconventional answer to your question, but I'm gonna just speak a little bit from the heart here. And we can't take no for an answer. We're always told in the history of fighting for justice that this isn't the right time. There's not enough money. Let's wait a little bit down the line. We've got other priorities. We have to push back really hard on that. You know, when I first got to the legislature, 2014, our state budget was about $240 billion. During the pandemic, we saw it go above $300 billion. We're now talking about a deficit at close to $300 billion. So if there was ever a time, I mean, I want to put that in the context, because if there was ever a time, you know, where our budget is going to reflect our values, is to put it into perspective that our budget is state budget is much bigger than it's ever been historically over the last several decades. So when people say we're in a budget deficit, this is not the place we should be cutting. It's a place we should be increasing, which is a safety net that people rely on so that they, if we could say it, so that they actually live. They can feed a child, they can feed a family. And I remember remember to push back on people to say, whenever the good work of justice is happening, there's always a reason why not to do it now. There's always a reason why there's not enough money. There's always a political reason why this is not the right time. And I think we need to push back on those things and remind people that, no, we do have enough money. It's called about $300 billion in the state budget. So we can scrap a couple of pennies to feed those who are most vulnerable. Why don't we cut somewhere else? So yeah. I think it's important to do that. And it's important to understand that we're only going to win this fight if we're stronger and we push back hard. There's a question on there, is there another stimulus check happening? Well, that's all going to depend on us. How hard we fight, how hard we push, and how important we make this to everybody in the state legislature in terms of giving to those who need it the most. I know there's a lot of great people on here, but I do want to thank Senator Rubio, who's on there. I know Controller Cohen's on here. I know I think Treasurer Ma should be on here, and others. If I miss somebody, I'm really, really sorry. I just wasn't able to see on the screen. I know there's a lot of great other advocates on here who we entrust in the good fight in getting this done. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your passion and leadership on this. And I couldn't agree more. It's not just about taxes. It's not just about tax credits. It's about feeding families. It really is life-changing. We have so many incredible stories where we hear about people getting these tax credits, and it changes the trajectory of their lives and the lives of their children. So we really appreciate your support and for being here today. Thank you so much. We know that many people are struggling to meet their basic needs despite working full-time. Tax credits like the California Earned Income Tax Credit, or CalEITC, help close this gap by helping people increase their refund amount. You can get up to $1,083 for state tax credits like the California Earned Income Tax Credit, and almost $7,000 with the federal Earned Income Tax Credit. To see if you qualify, you could text the word taxes to 211-211 or head to our website, myfreetaxes.org. Next up, we have our new state controller, Malia Cohen, Senator Susan Rubio, as well as our community member and parent, Christina Torrez. Thank you all for joining us. Christina, I'm going to kick things off with you because I think we are getting a picture of what it's like across the state, but I really want to hear from you, your perspective as a mom. Can you tell me what it is like raising a family in California right now, and what are some of the struggles that you're facing?
Yes. So I'm a single parent with 3 kids. My kids' ages are 10, 6, and 5. So it's a little bit difficult right now because with everything that's going up, the cost of living, the rent, food, different things that are going up, it's a little bit difficult to try and raise a family, especially being a single parent. And then childcare costs an arm and a leg too. So it's really hard to live off of just a certain amount of money. And when it comes to taxes, I really look forward to my taxes when I file my taxes, because then I'll be able to catch up on bills that I couldn't pay because of everything coming. But also I can get the stuff that my children need, especially when it comes to like clothing and their shoes and stuff. You know, kids grow a lot, so it's difficult to try and live off of the minimum wage that we're doing when everything is going up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think we're here talking about taxes, right? And taxes isn't something that typically people talk about. It's usually seen as this legal obligation or something that's really stressful. But in reality, our tax system plays this really important role, not just for families like you and individuals, but for entire communities. Controller Cohen, as the state's chief fiscal officer, you chair the Franchise Tax Board. Can you tell us the role that the tax system plays in community health and well-being?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here to participate in this very important conversation. And the reason why I think it's important is when I was a kid growing up in San Francisco, taxes was something that we paid when we were buying some chips or soda, when we were buying something. And then I heard my parents talking about it, and there wasn't very much discussion, let alone education around taxes. And so for me to grow up and to now have this career in taxes, I feel very blessed to be able to share and hopefully make really complex concepts easy to digest, easy to understand, and most importantly, give you the tools and the resources so you can make informed decisions for your family. I'm a working mom. I have many of the same challenges that you have in terms of childcare, access to quality, good information. So today's conversation is very important. And I want to talk a little bit about taxes. And taxes are important for, quite honestly, investing in the state of California. And as you heard from Assemblymember Santiago, it also helps fund important programs that we have prioritized as our priorities. So taxes support economic investment in our communities. And you see this coming through community revitalization projects to address needs such as affordable housing, maybe access to quality food or healthcare, environmental justice, as well as equitable and full employment. Your taxes all have a role in spearheading these important programs. They also support public investment in green and renewable infrastructure. The support for education, if you're a public school kid like I am, property taxes paid for our education. And it really helps to build a bridge for that digital divide that some of us are facing in various communities. And what it does is it allows us to ensure that we are having, that we're able to build high-speed internet platforms. So quite honestly, in a nutshell, taxes is the vehicle that we use to fund these public programs and services for Californians. Thanks, Mandy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you did a great job of really laying out, like, how does this help us in our everyday life, right? The schools we're going to, the roads we're driving on, things like that. Senator Rubio, I'd love to hear from you next. You've done a lot to help women and children across the state of California. Why are tax credits like the CalEITC and Young Child Tax Credit so important, especially for women and children?
Well, first of all, thank you. And it's quite an honor to be here with all of my colleagues and Malia Cohen, who I adore. And I think she's done a tremendous job in trying to help our low-income families. And so welcome and good to see you here. But let me just share that I still believe child poverty can have detrimental impact on children. And I tend to focus on children as it pertains to the tax credits, because I have to give you my perspective as a teacher. I have to give you my perspective as a young undocumented child, also, parents struggling to feed us. And so there's so much that I bring as a personal experience, but in particular, I remember just being a classroom teacher and having to really have a drawer full of food, because I understood very personally from the stories that the children would tell me is that they would leave Fridays with food in their belly because they ate at school, and then they wouldn't have any food over the weekend. And so they would come Monday really already just starving. And it used to break my heart, and as it pertains to just being very honest, they were come and tell me they were unfocused, they were not ready to learn, their head hurt. And as you could all understand, we are not at our best, when we're not well fed. And so a lot of that just plays into some of these policies when I'm, focused and trying to collaborate and trying to make it better for families. So I focused a lot on women and children because, that's the biggest pool of people that I would see that needed my help. And so I always knew that, they struggle the most. Mothers struggle with childcare. I think I heard someone say here, it's almost like having a second mortgage, right? Trying to put them through college, trying to make sure that they're fed. But financial stability is critically important. So these tax credit are just instrumental in helping a child not only be fed in the moment, but it trickles down all through their lives. If they're not stable in the beginning of their life, you see that. And I often hear people complain about the price tag, but I often say, we're investing in the front end. And if we don't, then we end up paying in the tail end, because then we see that we're having to capture our kids when they drop out of school, when unfortunately some end up incarcerated. And so to me, this is a minimal investment in terms of just financial stability to the families that we're trying to take care of, making sure that our kids have a bright future as it pertains to having stability in their home so they can continue to be in the classroom, educated, prepared, fed. And so it does have an impact in later years. So I always talk about it as the entire life of the child, not just in the front end, the life of the mother, because if they're also not well, there's also unintended consequences on the tail end. They end up on our social services. And so we want to make sure that every child, every mother, everyone out there has the same opportunity to start off healthy and go through life healthy. And so I'm just happy to be able to partner with some of you. As you know, I tried last year, we were successful in negotiating I think it was SB 860, which was able to bring down the qualifier from earning $1 to $0, because I think that we don't put a lot of stock in mothers that stay home. I mean, some of them cannot afford childcare, and yet people that were earning $1 get the child tax credit, but yet not the ones that stay home and take care of our children. So I'm just honored to be here and really promote the fact that these are just upfront investments that we need to take care of. If we want a healthy community, then this is the very least we can do. So thank you for having me here. And I'm just like I said, eager to continue to work with all of you. I did see some reports that 50% of our families who have children under 6 are still struggling financially, and over 3.5 million families currently don't have enough income to fulfill the basic needs. Again, food over, on the table, roof over their heads. And so we really need to send out a message that California cares about these families, and that we're going to do whatever we can to ensure that they have that tax credit.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, we're talking about food here, right? We're not talking about crazy expenses. We're talking about just making sure that families can feel stable, which is not, I don't feel like it's asking a lot, right? And so tax credits like the CalEITC, which is why we're here today, or the Young Child Tax Credit, are really a great way to help close this gap, right? Because what it's doing is it's increasing the refund amount. It means more money in this family's pocket, and it's more money back in their community, helping their families, helping their children. But it's really important to know, and I'm going to keep repeating this, you have to do your taxes if you want to claim these credits. So Controller Cohen, I'd love to ask you, how do you think we can make this process more accessible, or what changes would you like to see in our tax system? I think you're on mute.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I was going to say one thing that is obvious to me is the importance of meeting people with where they are, making sure that we are improving on our language access. Being mindful that everyone is not a native English speaker, and also being mindful of those that have other impairments. Maybe they are reading Braille, or have some kind of an auditory function that they need support on. So I think that we need, in order to make this process more accessible, there are some changes that I'd like to see, and that is just making sure that language accessibility is at the forefront of everyone's mind. That means that ensuring that state agencies have tax information that are available, whose first language may not be English. So much like we're doing now with the simultaneous translation, continue to do more of that and build on it. This also means that we need to partner with state and local groups to reach out to low income or non-filing families who may be leaving dollars on the table. And so the outreach that we're doing right now and the outreach that we can continue to do, we need to amplify and we need to do more of it, so that it is common and that it is accepted. It's not, there are no questions about it. There's no ambiguity about who qualifies for the service. Everyone should be filing and everyone should be has access to this information. And then also making sure that we have access to good tax preparers that help prepare these filings, and that the persons who's making the filing, again, they're comfortable. So there's some cultural competencies going on. And then I think the final thought is also just meeting people with where they are, just making the concepts that are oftentimes very complex, easy to understand, and finding a reliable person to communicate this information to the families. So those are just some ideas that I could think of that I think will be very helpful. And, organizations like this, panels like this, we should be doing this year round. You can file your taxes any time of the year, and we need to be driving that home, that we're here to help people and that the state of California has resources to offer some support to people that are struggling. So thank you, Mandy, for giving me an opportunity to share this.
Yeah, of course. And you did a great job of really kind of laying out all these different accessibility barriers, right? There's lots of different barriers that people might face, whether it's language, it might be access to technology and broadband, or it could even be immigration status. We know that your immigration status is going to add an additional complexities that might increase your hesitation around tax filing. Senator Rubio, I recently heard that it's estimated that 1 in 5 children in the Central Valley have at least one undocumented parent. So with this comes a lot of fear, particularly of government, which might make things like filing your taxes super scary. What makes tax credits like the CalEITC so special is that folks with an I-10 are able to claim these tax credits. What is it that you would want community members to know about the tax filing process?
Well, first, I want to say that, we could try, but I know in the immigrant community, the fear doesn't quite ever go away. And I always, like to share the story of my father. So I would just want to get a little personal there. My father was probably deported 7 times. And so he was undocumented most of his, early life. And so he's been a US citizen for, I think, 35 years or something like that. And whenever he sees someone in uniform, it's like this just natural, fear. And it took us a long time to try and calm him down every time we would run into like immigration, even though he's been a US citizen for so many years, like the fear never quite goes away. And so, yeah, we have to really embrace our immigrant community to bring them to the table, and just, in a very just mindful way that, the fear is always going to be there, but bring trusted partners, our schools and our churches and everyone that can really, get to talk to them at their level and help them out. I feel that a lot of money is left on the table, and they need to just understand that we're all here to help. And again, I do a lot in my own community trying to ease those fears. And it doesn't just happen in filing taxes. There's a real fear around giving your information to the federal government or state government, and they know where you live and they're going to come and get you. We saw a lot of that happening with the census, where we had such a difficult time just trying to get them to fill out the paperwork, because we all know why. There's narratives out there saying, they're going to find you, they're going to arrest you. And so it's just really engaging our trusted partners, our schools. I remember parents always came to me. That's how I know some of them slept in cars. That's how I know some of them had either a spouse that was either a drug addict or an alcoholic, because they share these stories very openly with teachers, the school community. I've seen it as a council member when I was a former council member. And so trying to engage all these community partners to help us pass on the message. I wanted just to say to all my immigrant community out there, you know, I understand the fear is very real. I've dealt with it, my own family. I was formerly undocumented and deported, as all of you know. So there is a real fear. But know that, you know, we're here to try and help you. We're here to offer these resources. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. As already stated, the money's there and a lot of funding is left on the table. And sometimes I know you have to choose between, you know, putting food on the table and possibly getting deported. And so I get the fear, but I want our community to know that, you know, there's so many organizations that are here to help you. There's so many organizations that just asking questions, if that's the very minimal you can do, ask questions. They're here to help you. They're here to answer questions. They will connect you with the organizations that will do it in a very sensitive way. You know, your comfort level, no one's going to push you, but we really want you to take advantage of this. It's for the good of your household, your children, your future. And so I want to acknowledge the fear. Like I said, it's real. My father, after 35 years of being a US citizen, could never get over it. So I acknowledge that, but I want them to know that I personally dealt with it. I want them to know that people always surrounded us trying to help us, you know, when we were navigating, you know, a different country, not having documentation. So please seek out people that you know, that you trust. Ask questions. Don't leave money on the table. Your family needs it. You need it, and take advantage of what's there. And I know that you're going to probably highlight all the resources that they can have. So I just want them to ask a trusted partner, whether it's your church, your teacher, or your community. We're all here to help. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, our local United Way partners partner with schools, churches, community centers, even apartment complexes, senior centers all over the state. And so what I love is you are going to have a VITA volunteer who lives in your community. It's going to be somebody who looks like you, who speaks your language, who probably lives in the neighborhood where you live. So to wrap things up, Christina, we're going to go back to you. I'd love to hear, you know, Senator Rubio did a really good job of kind of hitting on like why you should file. What would you tell somebody, Christina, if someone doesn't typically file? What would you say to them?
So I would explain to them the importance of filing taxes. I know I started filing taxes in 2019, and so a little personal here, I was in foster care. So being in foster care, you don't really know certain resources that are there, like filing taxes. And I didn't know that I had to file taxes. So it's like, as you get older, learning all these resources and being able to actually access these resources now, I would say to one, ask questions, but two, if you don't understand something, that's okay, because I didn't understand. And VITA actually really helped me maximize my tax credit. They helped me get everything from the child earned income tax credit and the actual earned income. But also there's also another tax credit for our former and current foster youth that is available, that the VITA Center can be able to help you as well. And also community partners like John Burton Advocates for Youth. They've helped with taxes with former and current foster youth as well. And they're a resource. United Way is a resource. I would say just use your resources. And if you don't know how to use your resources, that's okay. Go ahead and ask questions, because I had asked many, many, many questions. And I think it's important to know. I heard this: no question is not a question, if you understand what that is. Yeah, I've been told that many a times. But to someone that I've just met, I would say file your taxes. And if you don't know how to file your taxes, that's okay. That's why the VITA centers are there, and they're willing to help you just like they helped me.
Thank you so much, Christina, Senator Rubio, and Controller Cohen. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into our next segment, which Christina laid out perfectly, talking about free tax prep. United Way is committed to helping people maximize their refund. We really believe that you should be able to easily file your taxes for free. We really don't want people going to paid prepare, because we really feel that you deserve to keep 100% of your refund, because we know at the end of the day, that couple $100 that you're spending towards a paid prepare, you could use it towards groceries, a car payment, part of your rent. Last year alone, our partners across the state helped people save $27 million by helping them file their taxes for free. Our partners not only help people save money on their taxes, but also help them get every single tax credit that belongs to them. Our partners make a cognizant effort to reach communities that may face additional barriers. This includes immigrants, former foster youth, and more. Next up, we have a couple members of the CalEITC Coalition, Alissa Anderson from California Budget and Policy Center, Sasha Feldstein from California Immigrant Policy Center, and Anna Johnson from John Burton Advocates for Youth. Thank you all for joining us. So Sasha, we're going to kick things off with you. You work with the California Immigrant Policy Center, and a big part of your organization's goals is to transform systems and help improve economic, social, and racial justice. Why is this work around taxes so important to you, and how does it tie in with your work with the immigrant community?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much to United Ways of California for putting this on and for all the efforts that everyone's working on this week to make sure everyone's aware of the CalEITC. I'm going to apologize for my barking dog in the background, but just wanted to share that this work is so important because immigrants contribute so much to California's success, yet categorical exclusions based on racism and xenophobia have for years prevented undocumented Californians in particular from sharing in that success and in the state's prosperity. The CalEITC was created to put money back in the pockets of working Californians who are working but still living in poverty. And undocumented Californians represent 1 in 17 workers in California and contribute $3.7 billion in state and local taxes every year, and work in industries that, again, are so critical to California's success and ability to become the 4th largest economy in the world. But it wasn't until a couple of years ago that immigrant tax filers who filed their taxes with an ITIN instead of a social security number were included in the CalEITC. We were really proud to work as part of the coalition to ensure that ITIN filers could be included in the CalEITC and the Young Child Tax Credit, because we know that immigrants, like all Californians, contribute to the tax system and deserve, like all Californians, to benefit from the poverty fighting programs in that tax system. So that's why we've worked so hard on this. We have fact sheets on our website, training videos for staff, and a whole lot of other info on our site to make sure people know about the credit and can claim the credit without going to a paid tax preparer.
Thank you so much, Sasha. And we know that immigration status is really just one layer of someone's lived experience. There's lots of other life circumstances that might affect how someone interacts with our tax system. So it could be something like language, access to broadband or internet, or even being a former foster youth. Next up, I'm going to introduce Anna Johnson from John Burton Advocates for Youth. They do a lot around the state to advocate for foster youth and transitional age youth. I know Christina talked a little bit earlier about that foster youth tax credit, and I'm hoping Anna can tell us more about it. Why was this tax credit so important?
Yes, well, hello, everyone. Here at John Burton Advocates for Youth, we work with Californians who are ages 14 to 26. A lot of young people in that age are very low income. They're just starting their careers. They're in their first job. They may have never filed before. California is unfortunately home to the largest number of young people in child welfare and experiencing homelessness, and we want to change that. So we don't want foster youth to keep going through young adulthood with multiple financial hardships a year without any resources to pay off for when their tire gets a nail, or if their financial aid gets turned off because of homelessness. We want them to have money to be stable, housed, healthy, keep their jobs, keep their school going, and be successful and earn a living wage in California. So we talked with the governor and the state controller and the legislature about addressing this and addressing some tax equity. And we now have, for the first time in history, we're the first state to do this for foster youth, a $1,000 annual tax credit that they can get by filing their California return. So we've got $20 million to get out the door to young people across the state. We're working with counties, we're working with youth, we're working with nonprofits, and the people you see here in this presentation. Y tenemos información y recursos en español. And so come talk to us. We have things in English and Spanish, and we're doing our best to spread the word.
Thanks so much, Anna. I know we keep talking about tax credits, all these different types of tax credits. I'm just going to reiterate again, the only way that you guys can get this money back into your pocket, whether it's the foster youth tax credit, the earned income tax credit, the young child tax credit, you got to do your taxes. And so this is a great segue into us talking about these different filing options that we offer. Alissa, tax credits are a key piece in reducing poverty and reducing health disparities. Can you please tell me why free tax prep is so important, especially for communities who are living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate all the work you do to make these credits accessible and get the word out about free tax prep. So, free tax prep is vital because everyone deserves to get the full value of the tax credits that they're due. And when you file your taxes for free, you save hundreds of dollars in unnecessary tax prep fees, which ensures that you get the full tax refund that you're owed. And people need every single penny of their tax refund. This year, a single parent with 2 kids can qualify for up to about $10,400 from the CalEITC, federally ITC, California's Young Child Tax Credit, and the federal child tax credit. And if you're a former foster youth, you can now also qualify for California's new foster youth tax credit. And that is money that people are counting on and really need, to pay their bills, put food on the table, and support their families. So free tax prep is vital because it guarantees that people will get the refund they're owed. And it's really key to making sure that tax credits work as intended. Credits like the EITC are proven tools for lifting families out of poverty. They're linked to better health for infants and mothers. They're linked to long-term benefits for children like higher education, higher earnings when they grow up. And we know that they would be even more effective if everyone who's eligible for those credits could file their taxes for free so they get every single penny of the credit that they're owed.
Yeah, and I have a follow-up question for you because I recently heard that out of all the people that qualify for the CalEITC, only 2% of those people were actually accessing free tax prep services, which means they were probably going to a paid preparer or something like that. What do you think California can do to increase access to not just free tax prep, but also tax credits?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I think we need a much greater state investment in free tax prep services, and it needs to be an ongoing commitment. So every year, these services are funded adequately. We should have free tax prep in every single community all throughout California so that everyone who's eligible for those free services can actually access them. But I also think that we really need stronger regulations on for-profit tax preparers. These companies are predatory. We know that thanks to great investigative reporting through ProPublica. We know that they have intentionally steered people away from free services. They make people think that they have to pay when they don't. We know that they actually target communities where a lot of people are likely to qualify for the EITC, and they charge additional fees for claiming the EITC. And so they're essentially trying to take a cut out of these anti-poverty tax credits to boost their own profits. So we need stronger regulations. I think a really good place to start is just with simple transparency around how much companies are charging. This is one of those rare businesses where you walk in the door for a service and they won't tell you up front how much you're going to pay. They're not required to. And so oftentimes people don't find out until they've already filed their taxes how much they owe. So I think, requiring paid preparers to tell people how much they're going to charge, requiring them to tell people when they're actually eligible for free tax prep. But I think bigger picture, I think we need to work toward a free, simplified, government-funded tax filing system that links both state and federal taxes. So it's sort of one-stop shop for people. It could be automated returns. Tax agencies already have the information they need to know how much people actually owe in taxes and how much they can get back from credits for a lot of folks. So all you would have to do is just sort of verify that information. And this might sound pie in the sky, but it's absolutely possible because this is the way people file their taxes in many other countries.
I always get fired up with everything that you're talking about. I think we could have like a whole other webinar just on this topic right here. I know we're running a little bit behind, and so I'm actually going to need to skip over to our next segment, but I really appreciate Alissa, Sasha, and Anna for joining us today. They drop their links in the chat, so please check out their websites and see all the great work that they do with both foster youth and in the immigrant community. Thank you so much. So this is a great segue to our last segment of today. I know we've been talking a lot about taxes and free tax prep, but we know that it is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to financial stability. Oftentimes, free tax prep may serve as an entry point for community member. There are lots of other programs that people can utilize alongside free tax prep. Next, I would like to introduce our California State Treasurer, Fiona, as well as one of our local partners, Luis Mejia Jimenez from United Way, Merced County. So Luis, I'm going to start off with you. You know, United Way Merced has done such a great job with working with diverse communities. So this includes everyone from mixed status households, the blind community, seniors over the age of 65, and more. Besides free tax prep, what are some of the services that United Way Merced offers?
Yeah, so United Way Merced offers many different programs to our community. So we have our grant programs, like our community investment grants, which provide mini grants to other nonprofit organizations in Merced County. We also have our small business assistance program, which provides support to small businesses within the city of Merced that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, by offering grants of up to $7,500 with them. And as well, recently, we are super excited about our new project, our $4.2 million Heartland Creative Core project, which will support artists in Merced, Stanislaus, and Tuolumne counties to create public awareness art projects surrounding topics such as community health, water and energy conservation, climate change, civic engagement, and social justice. We are working alongside 3 amazing art-based organizations in those counties, which include Merced County Arts Council, Tuolumne County Arts, and Stanislaus Arts Councils. We also have other direct service programs, which include VITA, but we also have others such as Language Care, which is an in-person interpreting and translation service focused on language equity and healthcare. Currently, Language Care offers 7 languages, but we're always looking to expand and increase our language capacity in that program. We also have a program that we're all very familiar with, 211, and we recently brought that program back in-house to United Way in Merced County, which we were super happy about last year. And as we all know, 211 is a centralized hub for community information and referral. We also have our Aliados por la Salud project, which aims to provide low barrier COVID-19 testing and vaccination to the city of Planada and Merced. And finally, we also provide fiscal sponsorship and oversight to charitable projects, groups, and other nonprofit organizations. We do the heavy lifting, behind the scenes to let these groups go forward and continue with their mission and their vision. Some of the projects that we do work with are Ocho Semillas, Planada in Action, Journey for Justice, the Literacy for All Project, the Community Partnership Alliance, and the Merced Veterans Day Parade.
Thanks so much, Luis. I'm going to jump a little bit around in our agenda, and I am going to ask Treasurer Ma a question next. And, we're talking about, Merced is a great example of a partner that does VITA among many, many other programs. And we know that, tax credits really are kind of that first step, right? The refund is the first step, and getting that money in hand is just a part of the equation. So there's a lot of things that people can do with their tax refund. Oftentimes we hear that people are paying their bills, they're paying off debts, but what are some other ways that people can use that money to save for the future?
So thank you, Mandy, and it's great to hear all of our partners that spoke before giving many good tips. I have been a CPA for 30 years now, and there are a lot of tax scams out there. So be careful, right? They're going to say, we'll prepare your taxes, come in and get your EITC credits. We'll do it. And then after you go in, then they give you a bill, which pretty much negates some of your tax credits. So make sure you're going to a place that provides free tax filing. That is very, very important. Number two, if you do have extra money, I run 3 savings programs and now a 4th savings program, but you can always put money and open up a ScholarShare 529 account so that your kids don't have to go through high student loan debt. And studies have shown that when there is savings accounts that are open for children, that actually inspires them to work toward going to higher education. So that is ScholarShare 529. We also have a new savings program that is opening up called the Hope Accounts. So for any child who lost a parent or parents during COVID-19 or have been in long time foster youth, so long-term foster youth kids can now open a HOPE account and also start saving for their higher education. I also want to let folks know about another free program that is not tied to filing your taxes, but the governor and the legislature have put $1.8 billion into new child savings accounts. So for every newborn born after July 1st of 2022, they will have an account open up automatically in their name and funded with $100. And this money will grow for the next 18 years until the child decides to go to higher education or a certified apprenticeship program. Also available, any 1st through 12th grader on free and reduced lunch is eligible for $500 into their child savings account. If they are a foster youth, they'll get another $500. And if they are homeless, they'll get another $500. So potentially any 1st through 12th grader has $1,500 that they can access, but they also have to register. So they need a guardian or a parent to register to make sure that this account is open and the money is sitting in their account, and hopefully we'll be able to grow through compound interest. And that website is www.calkids.org. www.calkids.org. Easy to open an account. If you're eligible, that money will sit. They can watch it grow. If you open up a scholarship 529, you can watch all of these accounts grow simultaneously.
That is amazing. I mean, just thinking about how somebody could potentially get $1,500, and that doesn't include how that interest is going to accrue over time. I was joking with my husband that I was pregnant last year and the baby needed to wait till July 1st to be born so he can get a CalKids account, but we still opened a ScholarShare account with him. And so we put money in that there every month, even if it's just a little bit, $5. And I'm really lucky. I live in the city of West Sacramento, and they have a program where they actually put money into his account and help us save. So there's so many great programs that are associated with CalKids. It sounds like if people want to claim that money, they need to go to the CalKids website to do that. Is that right?
That's correct. That's the easiest way. And so we've been doing a lot of outreach to schools and school boards, superintendents, but there's still so many kids that are not claiming their money. So thank you, Mandy and United Way, for doing these very important webinars.
Yeah. And, one of the things I do want to talk about is, we're talking about ScholarShare right now, but, ScholarShare might not necessarily make sense for everybody. And I know that you guys run a program called CalAble. Can you tell us a little bit more about CalAble and how it differs from something like ScholarShare?
Yeah. So CalAble is a savings program for people who have been diagnosed with a disability before the age of 26 years old. They can now open an account and save up to $16,000 in their own name without jeopardizing their other health and safety benefits. The prior amount was only $2,000. So if you're a parent with a child who has a disability, you're always worried if something happens, what is going to happen to that child when that child has no assets in their name? So this is a real game changer. And the federal government and President Biden recently signed new legislation that will increase the age of onset for disability to 46 years old, because some people get injured, after they get out of the military or, on the job. And so that is going to make a huge difference for 7 million more people who would potentially open up these CalAble accounts, including 1 million veterans. So we look forward to that increased age of onset in about 3 years' time.
That is so incredible. So if you guys are interested in learning more about CalAble, I know that they put the website in the chat. We also had the National Disability Institute at CalAble on an Instagram Live on Wednesday. So if you guys are interested in learning more about, disabilities and taxes and CalAble, you guys can head to our Instagram account, United Way CA, and you guys can watch the recording of that. So thank you so much, Treasurer Ma. Louise, I'm going to wrap up with one more question from you. And, you talked a lot about the programs that you offer. Treasurer Ma talked about all these incredible programs that are offered through the state. And I really would love to hear, what does one thing have to do with the other, right? Like, how does VITA work as an entry point, or oftentimes, one of the many services that somebody might interact with?
Yeah, so the way that VITA helps with this is that, for example, with United Way and Merced, we have a lot of programs, a lot of different programs that hit the needs of many different people. And a lot of times they align, someone who is looking for 211, for example, will align with VITA, right? They might ask for free tax prep from the 211 service. Or for example, with our Aliados por la Salud project, we really help with low income households that are in Planada, and they get their free their COVID testing there. And those individuals can really benefit from places like VITA. So by having different groups and programs out there helping with things that align with the clientele that VITA has, the lower income people who need that money, who need the CalEITC, who need a young child tax credit to be able to maximize their refunds and support themselves and their families. We are able to align all these programs together, and they're able to get help from all these programs, especially if it's all under one roof, like it is here with United Way and Merced County. But not only that, but having partnerships with other organizations and other programs within the county where they know, hey, we do VITA, but hey, do we know this program over here that offers help for people who are hard of hearing or people who have low English proficiency?
Thank you so much, Luis. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. Today is the last day of CalEITC week, and we really appreciate everyone for joining us today. To learn more about our programs or to file your taxes for free, you can visit us at myfreetaxes.org, or you could text the word taxes to 211-211. To find a local United Way near you, you could visit unitedwaysca.org. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.